Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, Your Stars Aligned. This is your host Carmina, astrologer and reader with the cards of truth. Okay, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about a special topic, which is one of the most mysterious houses in the zodiac wheel or zodiac square if you use a Vedic system, and that is the 8th house, right? Before that, I would like to quickly remind you guys that this Friday there's gonna be a webinar on Lagitadia Vashtas, and it's gonna go on for 4 Fridays. So if you're interested in psychological aspects of the planets and fulfillment degree, you're welcome to join. I'll link below. And this Saturday I'm going to be holding a webinar on the cards of truth, helping you better understand how to read natal spread. Okay, so 8th house, right? Well, even this video, like even you listening to this video now, it's kind of an 8th house thing, because one of the things associated with the 8th house is the occult, right? And in order for a person to be an astrologer, for instance, or even a card reader or clairvoyant, anything of that nature, their self factors have to be in some way involved to the 8th house. Okay, let's start with the beginning though, right? So what is like the energy of the 8th house? Well, in the natural zodiac, we take the first house as corresponding to Aries, the second house Taurus, third house Gemini, and so on. So the 8th house would be corresponding to the sign of Scorpio, right? And what is Scorpio if not our vulnerable side, right? Our emotional side and vulnerable side, looking for security. Because if you look at the human body, Scorpio rules the area of the private parts, right? And the private parts are the fleshiest, most vulnerable parts on our body. They don't have any bone carcass to guard them, right? So that's kind of the sign of Scorpio. It's very vulnerable, right? And the 8th house has this quality as well. So yeah, when we think about the 8th house, we think, what is Scorpio? It's a water sign. So the 8th house is one of the 3 water signs, which in Vedic astrology are also called the moksha houses, right? Moksha meaning liberation. Because water is cohesive, it's adhesive, it relates to the waves of our deeper feelings, psychological level, right? So yeah, all the 3 moksha houses, the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th, have this this deeper meaning, right? This deeper, like, exploration of the self, exploration of the other person's psychology, and exploration of the universal unconsciousness, which is like the collective unconsciousness, which is like the 12th house, right? So there's this, right? It's a moksha house, a house that if you have it emphasized, it can help us move towards the soul's liberation quicker. Also, the 8th house happens to be one of the 3 Dushtana houses, right? So the Dushtana houses are the 6th, the 8th, and the 12th. And these are the more unfortunate houses, right? The 6th house relates to delays, the 8th house relates to sudden breaks and losses, and the 12th house relates to expense and loss, right? So it's interesting. It's at the same time a Dushtana house, which relates like to sudden breaks, and a Moksha house, which relates to exploring a deeper psychological level, which is of course again related to the Scorpio energy, which is very introspective, right? Going further layer by layer, but also it can go to extremes and radically shift. That's the breaks, right? So yeah, and then um, there's another classification. So it's a succedent house, right? The second, the eighth, and the 11th are succedent houses, and they are concerned with security, right? The second with material security, the eighth with emotional security, and the 11th with security in a social context, right? With groups and friends and such things. So yeah, the eighth house is, it's very vulnerable, very sensitive. It has to, if you have, for instance, Rahu in the eighth house, which is the north node, it's an area under development. So you have to really work on your trust issues, on your emotional issues. And that will be always, of course, in tandem with the south node, which is working on your material issues, like concrete. Okay, so what else is the eighth house? Well, it's the second from the seventh house, right? And the second, so it has this like second house quality, which is material quality of the seventh. The seventh is your partner. It can be your business partner or your spouse, right? So the eighth relates to shared resources, other people's resources. Brihat Parashara or Ashastra also says it relates to the wealth of the dead, so it relates to inheritances, right? To other people's money, and it can also relate to other people's money in the context of lottery, because when you play the lottery you have like a lot of partners to play the lottery with, and one of you gets the big jackpot, right? um yeah, so what else? Yeah, so it relates to other people's money. So when you look into a person's chart that wants to work with other people's money, like to be an accountant or something to do with taxes or banks or anything, like you can also look for the eighth house to be involved with the career factors, right? Okay, I have a couple of more notes here. Let's see. Okay, so I will read to you what Brihat Parashara Ora Shastra, like the Vedic text, like very authoritative Vedic text, that describes what else has to do with the eighth house. Longevity, battle, cheats, impassable strongholds, wealth of the dead, and the soul course. What begins and what after. The wise see all from the split cavity flow bhava. So the eighth bhava is called, actually, it can be translated as split or cavity or flow, right? Because as I said, it hosts our fears and vulnerabilities, right? So again, I'm going to give the example with Rahu in the eighth house. For instance, if you like whatever fears you have, and if you have like Rahu in the eighth house, they're gonna come true in your life all the time, especially when like you get like a Rahu transit or Rahu Dasha or Bhukti, like a time period. So what's best to do with if you have Rahu in the eighth, because I have it, so I can speak from my experience, to never say never, because whenever you say I'll never do that, you will get like confronted with it, and you will do it some way or the other. So yeah, my advice is for you to be like really open to life and to experiences and not be judgmental, right? With a busy 8th house. So yeah, that's about it for today, for a short introduction in the 8th house. There's also planets in the 8th house can form some less pleasant combinations like Kemadruma yoga, which kind of brings a person down. Yeah, it can. Oh yeah, if you have like the 8th house is well supported, if you have like a strong lord, that's good for longevity. Also good for longevity is not to have malefics there. And yeah, there are other combinations, other yogas that form with the 8th house. For instance, Parivartana misery yogas that causes breaks in things if there's an interchange between the 8th lord and any other lord. There's also a Rekha yoga and the Dur yoga. So a lot of like difficult yogas, because we get all these combinations if we have them in our charts, right? The difficult 8th house stuff is just for us to work on our fears and vulnerabilities, right? And to learn to have worthwhile relationships as well, because the second is related to Taurus and worth, and the 8th is the second from the 7th, right? So to create like worthwhile relationships with people, and also be more open and not be being so limited, right? Like fearing things so much. So yeah, I think that was about it for today's video. Let me know what you think. Do you have like an emphasized 8th house? Like, where is your 8th lord in your chart? Do you have any malefics in the 8th house or any benefics? And did you have any 8th house like occult experiences or inheritances or with other people's money? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out my website, yourstarsaligned.com, to see what astrology and card reading services I provide, as well as tutoring and courses, right? Okay, so see you guys later. Bye.